When their power collapses, 7 devious tactics narcissists use to pull you back in. When a narcissist once had a hold on your inner world, shaping how you saw yourself, how you valued your worth, even how you interpreted your own emotions, their attacks didn't need to come from the outside. They had already taken root inside you. Many psychologists call this internalized destabilization, a slow psychological erosion where the victim's instincts, perceptions, and self-trust begin to warp. You start second-guessing yourself without even knowing why. But when that grip finally loosens, when you begin to reclaim your own voice, something in the narcissist shifts. Their tactics move outward. Suddenly, they're relying on social pressure, external threats, and environmental manipulation to push their way back into your emotional space. Experts note that this change in strategy is never random. It is a panic reaction, the fear response of someone who sees your growing independence as a threat to their fragile ego. And so begins the unraveling. The 7 striking behaviors narcissists display when they sense their control slipping away. Control isn't just important to a narcissist. It's their lifeline. Every psychologist who studies narcissistic personality structures echoes the same truth. Without control, the narcissist feels exposed, hollow, and powerless. They need to dictate the emotional climate, sculpt the narrative, and remain the gravitational center of every relationship. When that power is threatened, it triggers what clinicians call a narcissistic injury. It's not merely hurt feelings. It's a deep ego wound that ignites desperation, rage, or frantic attempts to pull you back into orbit. These behaviors unfold like a psychological descent. The earlier ones appear when they still believe they can reach you internally, but by the 7th, they know the throne they sat on in your life has crumbled, leaving them increasingly reckless and unhinged. If you're learning about narcissistic abuse, you've likely reached a stage where the discard phase is behind you. You've disconnected from the role you once played in their emotional ecosystem. You're no longer their source of validation, comfort, or identity reinforcement. And the narcissist can feel that. They can sense when you've stopped orbiting them. That realization terrifies them more than anything. 1. The foxpology, when accountability becomes a performance. This is usually the first wave of behavior after they sense you pulling away. They still believe they can reach you emotionally, so they reach for what looks like humility. Psychologists call this the performative empathy apology, a carefully crafted illusion meant to imitate remorse without actually touching it. You'll hear things like, "I'm sorry you misunderstood me," or "I'm sorry you feel hurt," which are not apologies at all. They're verbal smokescreens designed to fog your sense of right and wrong. Experts explain that narcissists don't use apologies to heal wounds. They use them to negotiate power. A real apology would require vulnerability and self-reflection, traits that threaten their inflated self-image. So instead, they offer apologies that protect their ego while placing emotional responsibility back onto you. In their world, "I'm sorry" really means, "I'm sorry I lost control. I'm sorry you stopped responding. I'm sorry you're no longer playing the role I assigned you." Victims often feel torn in this phase. Psychologists say it triggers cognitive dissonance, that painful internal tug-of-war between the part that hopes they can change and the part that knows they won't. The healthiest response is emotional distance and observation. Words are easy. Patterns are revealing. Protect your compassion from being weaponized. 2. The Hoover, a beautiful illusion that conceals a future discard. If empty apologies don't work, they elevate the strategy. Enter the Hoover, the narcissist's attempt to pull you back in with intensity, affection, charm, and validation. It feels familiar because it mirrors the idealization phase, the chapter where everything felt magical and safe. Psychologists stress that this is not love returning. It's survival. The narcissist's ego is panicking, and they need you back in position to regulate their emptiness. But when the narcissist believes you were the one to discard them, the Hoover takes a darker shape. Therapists call this the future discard Hoover. The goal isn't reconnection, it's revenge. They want you back just long enough to reclaim the upper hand and then abandon you themselves, restoring their sense of dominance. The danger? The Hoover hits the exact emotional spot where you once felt loved, cherished, and seen. It is engineered to feel irresistible. But psychologists remind us, when someone becomes perfect overnight, it is not transformation, it is strategy. Real change is consistent, humble, and uncomfortable. A narcissist's change is glamorous, urgent, and temporary. 3. The accidental encounter coincidences that aren't coincidences. When emotional distance doesn't break you, the narcissist often switches to physical presence. Suddenly, they're at your grocery store, the cafe you visit every Sunday, your running trail, the lobby of your gym. It looks accidental, but psychologists categorize this as indirect contact seeking, a deliberate tactic meant to jolt your nervous system without violating boundaries outright. The narcissist understands that your body remembers what your mind is trying to heal from. Seeing them unexpectedly might trigger panic, adrenaline, confusion, or even anger. And here's the disturbing truth. To the narcissist, any emotional reaction counts as evidence that they still matter. This is what experts call reactive control. If they can't control your decisions anymore, they'll try to control your emotional state. Victims often feel guilty for reacting, but therapists reassure, your body is responding to a past threat resurfacing. Use grounding techniques, slow breathing, mindfulness, intentional self-talk to reclaim control of your internal environment. Your reaction doesn't mean you're still tied to them. It means you're human. 4. Emotional manipulation and blackmail, the desperation stage. The closer the narcissist gets to losing you for good, the more dramatic their emotional tactics become. They may flip the script entirely, portraying themselves as the abandoned, wounded party. This is the phase psychologists describe as empathic exploitation. They weaponize your compassion not by brute force, but by emotional distortion. You may hear, "I can't believe you do this to me. No one has ever hurt me the way you have. I thought you cared about me." These statements aren't expressions of vulnerability. They're psychological hooks designed to pull you back into self-doubt and guilt. Narcissists know exactly which emotions to target: your empathy, your sense of responsibility, your desire to be fair. They twist these qualities, turning them against you. This form of manipulation is exhausting because it forces the victim into the role of caretaker, even when they are the one seeking freedom. Therapists advise setting firm, non-negotiable boundaries and remembering one foundational truth. Someone's emotional reaction to your boundary is not your responsibility. Emotional blackmail only works when you silence your own needs to soothe theirs. Seeing the tactic clearly is the first step to breaking the cycle. When emotional manipulation starts sinking its claws into your life, most victims encounter a moment that feels like a psychological crossroads. One where they begin doubting not just the relationship, but their own moral compass, their own identity. Psychologists describe this stage as introject blame, when the narcissist's accusations, distortions, and rewritten memories begin echoing inside your mind as if they were your own thoughts. If a narcissist can convince you that you are the harmful one, or worse, that you are the narcissist, they gain a type of control that feels invisible but is deeply corrosive. This tactic hits hardest in people who have something the narcissist does not: genuine introspection. People who question themselves, who take responsibility when they're wrong, who analyze their own behavior with honesty. Ironically, the strengths that make you emotionally healthy also make you vulnerable to this specific manipulation. Because once you begin entertaining the idea that maybe you're partly to blame, that small crack of self-doubt becomes an opening the narcissist rushes to exploit. To them, any crack, no matter how tiny, is enough to pry their way back into your emotional world. This manipulation rarely comes roaring in. Instead, it usually arrives wrapped in emotional theatrics, a carefully orchestrated performance designed to tug at your empathy. Suddenly, the narcissist looks wounded, lost, painfully confused. You hear things like, "I truly don't understand why you're being so cruel. I don't know what I did to deserve this." Psychologists refer to this as strategic helplessness. It looks like vulnerability, but it's actually a manipulation strategy used to make you step back into the caretaker role. They'll talk about sleepless nights, emotional collapse, physical symptoms, all delivered with the unspoken message that you are the only one who can make it stop. And if you're empathetic, this is excruciating. That urge to comfort, to help, to fix, it's powerful. But therapists emphasize that this emotional pull is artificially manufactured. The narcissist isn't seeking healing. They're seeking access. They want back into the space you finally closed off. When your heartstrings get tugged, remember, your empathy is not the enemy. Misdirected empathy is. Therapists often encourage survivors to redirect that compassion inward. The gentleness you're tempted to give to them is the very gentleness you desperately need to give yourself. Because if you let the narcissist back in at this stage, the cycle doesn't just restart, it tightens. Not because you weren't enough, not because you didn't try hard enough, but because the narcissist is psychologically incapable of consistent, meaningful change. Choosing to step away is not cruelty. It's survival. 5. False accusations. Psychological warfare meant to unravel your reality. When the narcissist senses control slipping even further, the next stage is often a barrage of false accusations. Aggressive, absurd, and emotionally destabilizing. Psychologists describe this as projection. A defense mechanism where a person assigns their own flaws, behaviors, or intentions onto someone else to avoid confronting them internally. When a narcissist accuses you of being the liar, the manipulator, the narcissist, the abuser, they are often describing themselves. These accusations can feel so exaggerated, so wildly untrue, that you're left stunned. They may take a harmless moment, something insignificant, and twist it into evidence of betrayal, cruelty, or malicious intent. In their rewritten reality, you become the villain, and they become the wounded hero fighting for justice. This tactic becomes especially devastating in high-stakes situations like divorce, legal disputes, or custody negotiations. Victims often try to stay calm and rational, especially when children are involved. But the narcissist may erupt with accusations you've never even imagined. You're trying to take the kids away. You're moving out of state. You're cutting me out of their lives. Even when none of it is remotely true. Psychologists call this reactive fabrication, a sudden, emotionally charged invention of lies designed to disrupt your stability and regain dominance. The narcissist knows that false accusations force you into defensive mode. And the moment you begin defending yourself, you're back inside their psychological arena. But it never stops there. These accusations often become the foundation of something far more destructive. The smear campaign. Narcissists justify spreading their lies by telling themselves, "We talked about this." They know what they did. In their minds, their fabrications become truths simply because they feel true. Victims, meanwhile, are left terrified, panicked that their reputation, friendships, or professional life will be contaminated by these falsehoods. Psychologists recommend staying grounded in reality, keeping detailed documentation, and refusing to engage with the narcissist's distorted narrative. You cannot win a war built on fiction. 6. The smear campaign, attacking your identity to protect their own. The smear campaign is one of the narcissist's most damaging weapons. It serves two purposes: destroy your reputation and provoke a reaction from you. Psychologists call these campaigns identity assaults, tactics designed to dismantle your credibility so that anything you say about the narcissist can be dismissed or doubted. Sometimes the lies are outrageous, bordering on unbelievable. But other times, they contain a seed of truth, twisted just enough to make you look unstable, volatile, or morally flawed. The danger is not just the lie itself. It's how convincingly the narcissist delivers it. Their charm and confidence make others believe the narrative before you even get a chance to speak. Your instinct will be to fight back, to explain, to correct the misunderstandings. But therapists warn this reaction often plays directly into the narcissist's hands. From the outside, defending yourself with intensity can look like guilt or emotional instability. Exactly the image the narcissist wants to paint. The more frantic you appear, the more credible their story becomes. Psychologists teach survivors a different approach: controlled restraint. If the smear campaign does not threaten your safety, job, or essential relationships, sometimes the most powerful response is silence. Not because you're giving up, but because you're refusing the role they're trying to force you into. Silence denies them the emotional energy they need to sustain their narrative. In time, their lies often unravel under the weight of their own contradiction. Narcissists thrive on chaos. By refusing to feed the chaos, you reclaim more power than you realize. This brings us to the final and often most unsettling stage. 7. Threats, the narcissist's final, desperate grasp for power. When a narcissist feels their grip on you slipping, when all the usual tricks that once worked so effortlessly suddenly fall flat, they turn to the tactic they reserve for their darkest, most desperate moments: threats. This stage is messy and frantic, like someone hurling a final lifeline even though they already know it won't hold. Psychologists call this moment reactive dominance, a psychological panic mode where the narcissist tries to claw back control by any means necessary. The threat itself can take 100 different shapes, some grounded in truth, some twisted beyond recognition, and others entirely invented on the spot. What matters to them is not whether the threat is real. What matters is whether it shakes you. And because fear is more powerful when it's undefined, narcissists instinctively understand that a vague danger keeps people awake at night far more effectively than a specific one ever could. One of their most common moves in this stage is pulling old secrets out of storage. Moments from years ago, mistakes you've long since accepted, or private confessions you made when you still believed they cared. Narcissists have an unsettling knack for knowing exactly where your emotional bruises lie. They remember the little things you'd rather forget, and they drag those memories into the light with surgical precision. Psychologists describe this tactic as shame activation, a deliberate attempt to trigger the embarrassment or regret that still lingers somewhere inside you, even if the memory itself no longer has any real power. To the narcissist, the truth doesn't matter. What matters is leverage. Even if what they're holding over you is trivial or innocuous, they rely on your discomfort, your fear of being misunderstood or judged, your instinct to keep certain things private. That instinct becomes their weapon. But when they don't have a real secret to use, when they've exhausted the emotional ammunition they collected over the years, they simply switch to threats built entirely on ambiguity. They raise an eyebrow, drop a cryptic comment, imply they know something, and leave the rest to your imagination. And this is where the manipulation becomes especially insidious, because ambiguity forces your mind into overdrive. Suddenly you're replaying old conversations, scanning your memories, searching for something, anything they might twist into a threat. Even people who have nothing to hide can fall into this psychological trap. Experts call this anticipatory anxiety, that spiral where the fear of what might happen becomes more powerful than reality itself. The narcissist doesn't need proof, evidence, or even a plan. They only need you to panic. This doesn't mean, however, that threats should be brushed aside or ignored. Psychologists often recommend something counterintuitive but profoundly effective. Consciously imagine the worst-case scenario, not as a way to catastrophize, but as a method of reclaiming power. When you face the thing you fear most, when you say to yourself, "If that happened, here's what I'd do," you remove the narcissist's ability to use uncertainty against you. Fear thrives in the dark. Once you turn on the lights, the monster loses most of its shape. In more severe situations, especially those involving co-parenting or shared responsibilities, narcissists may escalate to threatening what they know you hold closest to your heart. In custody disputes, for instance, they might threaten to take the children, not because they truly want a parent, but because they know this is the one fear that cuts the deepest. It doesn't matter if they've shown little interest in the children before. The point is not love, it's control. Psychologists refer to this behavior as resource weaponization, where the narcissist uses whatever is most precious to you as a bargaining chip in their emotional war. It is one of the most painful and morally corrupt tactics they employ, and yet, for a narcissist desperate to reassert power, even innocent children become tools. This pattern extends far beyond parenting. A narcissist might threaten your job by implying they'll contact your employer, threaten your reputation by spreading rumors, threaten your friendships by revealing things you never said, or threaten your stability by attempting to interfere with your finances or safety. The specific threat varies, but the intention remains the same. Destabilize you, weaken your sense of independence, and grind down your resolve until fear becomes louder than your desire for freedom. This is why mental health professionals consistently emphasize the importance of documenting interactions, setting firm boundaries, and involving legal or professional guidance when necessary. Protecting yourself is not an overreaction. It is a response to someone who counts on your hesitation. And even in this dark landscape, there is something hopeful at play. One of the truths psychologists observe again and again is that narcissists bore easily. When they can no longer provoke a strong emotional reaction, when you stop panicking, stop defending yourself, stop feeding the fire, their interest fades. Emotional neutrality becomes your shield. It is not about pretending you don't care. It is about refusing to give them the emotional fuel they crave. Narcissists thrive on power imbalances, on the sensation that they can pull your strings and force you to dance. When you stand calm, steady, and unmoved, you rob them of that illusion. This approach, known as strategic disengagement, is one of the most effective ways to weaken their influence. The truth, though often hidden behind their bluster and arrogance, is that narcissists are remarkably fragile. They build their identity on a foundation of inflated self-importance, and because that foundation is so brittle, they often push too hard, underestimate others, or expose their own contradictions in their desperation to stay in control. Over time, especially when their emotional fuel source dries up, their manipulations unravel. They end up facing consequences, not the grandiose consequences they imagine the world owes them, but the real ones they have brought upon themselves. As you move through this chapter of your journey, keep your focus on what is genuinely best for you. Do not be pulled back into their psychological labyrinth or seduced by the temporary calm that often follows their storms. Every step away from their chaos is a step toward your healing, your clarity, and your restored sense of self-worth. And if you're currently navigating this difficult and confusing terrain, the next resource I'm linking will help guide you even deeper into understanding how to protect yourself from narcissistic manipulation. If this exploration helped you recognize the patterns in your own story, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your healing journey is just beginning, and you deserve solid support at every turn.